God damn it. All right. That pisses me off. Goodness. We have our first presented. I might stack there, to be honest. We might just try that. Let's try to stack the position here. Because we're already in, right, we'll just use one. So, and the stop loss will pretty much be this. Let's see, can we? I'd like if we can close above that. Because we are in a little tricky spot here. We did close above on a 1, okay. I don't mind this. Add one more to get 5, which would be midpoint. As you said, partial and stop loss will pay for this entry. So pretty much a risk-free entry, which is why I'm fine. First presented. We catch the swing low, as we say, right? Those are going to be our best entries. So once we catch the swing low, the expectation is, oh, we get the swing high as well. Nice. So now we'll see if we can actually get another stacked position and then get out here. No stacked on the funded, just so you guys are aware. We're just going to use this. Wow, it gave us the entry. If that runs from here, that'd be perfect. Yeah. Acceleration. Beautiful. I mean, from here, we could probably, because we added that, I might just close at 5 from this new entry. Or if we want to get the high there, we could at least just do 1 there. That's good. So we'd want to see acceleration through the high. As you say, a swing low for us will be best entry. So if that's a swing low, we would expect this. Same idea now, as we said, right? Bring up the indicators again. We went from first or new day opening gap to new day opening gap, but got rejected here. So now when we tap this one and get entered, now we'd want to see this give way, which should allow us up here. If we continue to hold this though, we may run into trouble and get a deeper retracement. Ideally, as we say, this becomes a swing low. If not, we'll probably continue to retest this more than once, especially because we had a bearish volume imbalance. So the last time we smack into this, we close on it, but then we open with the bearish volume imbalance, right? Price tries to get above, it immediately rejects. So right now the premium is stronger than the discount. We're revisiting here. As you said, could consolidate a few times and then accelerate. If we get stopped, that's fine. As you said, we already secured most. This stop loss is paid for by the previous win. So we're going to allow the opportunity to try to catch one more leg into the actual inefficiency here. What we would want to see, because we have a bearish volume imbalance here, is for this to hold this midpoint, the OB, and to close in this volume imbalance. Ideally, actually come back up and close above this candle's open. If we could do that and close above this candle's open, we should be able to release. Conversely, if we reject, immediately rebalance, and leave the bearish volume imbalance open, that's not going to be a good sign. So I'd want to see the continued bullish delivery. As we said, getting above this candle's open at least, because that's where our hidden volume imbalance is now. All right, so we have a volume imbalance here like this. And that's actually what we're hitting now. So we'll see if we can get above that. It's paired with the new day opening gap as well. So it's going to be a pretty strong area, right? We need to get above that. Yeah, rejecting. Ooh, hot, 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 hot. I'd want this to be the swing low, if I'm being honest. Especially after rejecting like that, right? The volume imbalance, that's not good. Bearish volume imbalance here. So now we're getting a little choppy, a little stuck, which means we may want to revisit this and we'll get stopped out. So that's why I don't like to see that. Because as we say, in choppy conditions, we can retest higher time frames more than once. Where we entered, I wanted that to be the last attempt to use this 5 minute, and now we've displaced away. So I wouldn't want to see the 5 minute at this point. Instead, I would just want the continued bullishness off of today's first presented that's overlapped with the new day opening gap. Once again, if we're going to revisit this, we need to get above there. The more that we trade into it and hold, the worse it becomes, because then that's going to be followed with a quick explosive movement lower. But the longer that we kind of stay in this range and continue to reject this, that's when you get the quick just fall through price. So because of this, we need to see this give way. We're able to close in the bearish volume imbalance, and now we've opened with the bullish. I'd want this one to stay open. So we're closing in the bearish, which is good. We need to leave the bullish open, especially because it's going to be paired with this old hidden volume imbalance that's right here. Once again, though, new day opening gap is just line in the sand, right? It's the wall. So we're struggling. I'm also not liking how this 830 isn't really being respected as often. When we enter, we hold it with the bodies. That's what I'd want to see. So at this point, because we're coming outside of this first presented, I'd actually want 830 again to hold. If we get underneath that, as we say, it's just getting less and less likely that we're going to want to accelerate quickly through this. This stop is under this 1 minute here, just so you guys are aware. But that's what I'm using. That's what I'm looking at. Is that I'm thinking, all right, well, I don't really want to see this 5 minute be tested, but on the off chance that we want to wick into that real quick, there's this 1 minute here as well. So I'm trying to have the stop underneath both of those in case that becomes an area of support. But to be completely honest, if we were to clear this low right now, I'm not really feeling too comfortable with this holding at all. Especially because NQ now has ran that high. Okay, we'll see. ES needs to try to catch up, or is it going to start turning into some SMT there at the highs? Not too bad here as well, because I mean, right, consolidation can lead to the quick bullish explosive movement as well. So I'd want to see that at least into this inefficiency, right? We have equal highs, 1 minute inefficiency. That's going to be pretty easy area for price to deliver into if we can escape the new day opening gap trap. That's pretty much, oh, that Ryan bars, hold up. That's pretty much what we're in though, right? New day opening gap, we're trapped between the two. First presented. Yeah, right, as we say, the longer we spend here, the quicker this movement's going to be to get out of the range. So at this point, we would expect a quick movement really either direction. If we're wrong, it's going to fall right through, retest the 5. Closure below this, we'll probably get stopped. As we said, if we get below that low and close below it, I'm not even liking that 5 minute as an area of support anymore, really. Especially if we get outside the new day opening gap, closing underneath it. So I would need to see this just continue to wick. We could wick into it, that's fine, but the bodies tell the story. So I'm trying to see bodies respect that level. At this point, if we reject from here, we would need to just run. Especially if we held that. Yeah, from here, we would just need to go. Or we're just going to get stuck here and fall, right? We close inside the fair value gap, which means we may use the high of it as resistance now. That's kind of what I'm watching on this little time frame. That if we're going to try to make an attempt back inside, we may use that as an area to send price lower. Especially because, as we mentioned, right, it's going to be closing back inside new day opening gap. We'll see. Retesting entry. As we said, this is kind of like last line in the sand 5 with the 1 minute. Midpoint and the 5 minute are overlapped right there. So that's why I would want that kind of as the last line of defense. Say this low gets put into place and we actually get back above this 1 minute. If we can do that, we'll have a new stop. Closure below, okay. Stop loss more than likely, actually. 5 minute would need to offer immediate support. But this is going to be an inversion now. Right, so we would need to immediately get back above and reclaim this. If we did, stop would be here. Matter of fact, if we close back inside this at all, I'm going to move my stop right away. Because more than likely, this will immediately reject and stop us out. If it immediately goes higher, however, and can close bullish, this should be a protected low. Especially if it reclaims this fair value gap. Like that already makes me want to move it, if I'm being honest. We'll wait for the closure. That's gross. Jeez, yeah. All right. So I'm fine doing that. I just want to be out here. For me, that should be low, but right, we held that midpoint. So to me, getting below the fair value gap, this becomes an inversion. We try to get to the high, we immediately reject, we hold midpoint. So for me now, if we're going to hold midpoint and run out this low, we would probably come for the stop anyways, which is why I'm fine where the stop is. Because from here, I'd want that to be the protected low. We would need to get outside and back above this 1 minute to reclaim it and make that final pass into this buy side. But notice NQ cleared that high again, right? Another reason why I'm moving stop. Because we're starting to run highs in NQ twice. ES was unable to, which is why I think this may become an inversion. And if that's the case, no need to take a stop. Yep, okay. Hard rejection again. It's also the first presented, right? So we're under that. So everything at this point kind of going against us, which is why we've mitigated risk. Retesting the high once again, not convinced we're outside of it yet. That could easily hold, send us lower. Midpoint needs to hold to get us above the 1 minute. If not, we're going bearish. Yeah, this one cleared. Relative equal highs for sure. But this one ran out the high. Right, that's what I mean, like we have small SMT there. Even though it's just barely. These two highs have run out this high. We're unable to even get near that in ES. Which is why I'd want midpoint to hold from here. NQ could fall a little bit, maybe grab some lows, but I don't want this low violated in ES. Matter of fact, if we can reject from here, that'd be nice. SMT at the lows. Once again, the more time we spend in here, the less likely it is that we can escape. And more than likely, we're going to, as we say, right, get these quick explosive movements lower. So from here, midpoint needs to hold. That's kind of my deal breaker right now. As long as midpoint holds, we have a chance. We close above this fair value gap, we'll go and break even, and we're just going to take no stop loss at all. Because now at this point, we've come outside of it. We've delivered into the 5 as we spoke about. That was last line of defense. We accelerate back above, creating this as now a reclaimed fair value gap, and we're retesting the new day opening gap. Price can easily reject from there. Matter of fact, break even right now. Cool. So now we've been able to mitigate risk fully. It's once again a risk-free trade, so we have no issues anymore. So now we can just watch and hang out. In theory, we'll probably try to get just 5. Where would that be? Let's see. So 5 handles takes us into 47.75. I guess we can do that. We don't need to be too greedy and reach for the extra handle. So we're just going to close 1 as we run this high with the expectation that we should still get into this inefficiency, right? But we're just going to have low-hanging barriers of exit, low-hanging fruit, especially because this new day opening gap's acting up. I don't like that. So if we can wick above it, that's when we'll look to get out. Closure above volume imbalance here will be good. Closure below it, not good. Let's give our partial at least, huh? Yeah, we respected the earlier one with body, so we like that. This one is going to be perfectly aligned with the opening range as well. Oh, not good, not good. All right, equal highs. We may come for our break even before running those highs out. That'll be unfortunate, but I could see that as a very real possibility. So right now at this point, this fair value gap needs to hold. If not, we're not looking too hot. This we need to hold and immediately run us through these equal highs. Because of how ugly it is, we're just going to go right there. We'll go right at the equal highs just in case we get a one handle wick above that. You know what I mean? Something like this in ES. Uh-oh. If that holds this volume imbalance, that's not going to be good. It is playing. Oh, wait, remember? This is what helps. Yes. Watch, watch, watch. Told you. Easy. Magnet. Duh. Easy. Stupid. Told you. It always works, bro. Just have to magnet it real quick. All right. So now we're good at this point, right? We'll have the final. We might as well just go for the high. That's ambitious, but I'm fine doing that. Break even, as we said, we were stacked at a good spot. Should have been a swing. Oh, it was a swing low. Okay. We should have had this swing low, though. Because technically, this didn't even hit the entry. We low ticket. It still counts as a swing low. Need to be a swing high here. For personal preference. Swing high exit. Fair value gap held us. Nice. Right, so once you... I guess I'm trying to figure out how to word it. When price runs out liquidity like this, right? So we said early on when we first got entered that it had the possibility of running into the 5. So we were allowing that. Surprise, surprise, that's exactly where it goes and holds. Once we see that and we move away, that's when I'm less likely to want to see any retracements now. Because now for this actual current leg, we should just use whatever the most recent discount is until we reach our objective, which would be technically here. I like this, but once we hit this fair value gap, we can get a retracement. Right, that allows you to kind of just be on side, follow order flow correctly. Same idea. This is balanced in here, right? Which is why I'm saying when we leave it, well, first of all, we understand midpoint needs to hold when we get above it for that exact reason, right? We're closing below it. So if we're going to make an attempt to get back above its midpoint, that's a bullish signature. And the midpoint's going to be the key area that holds price. It holds as we expect and then displaces outside of the fair value gap. So once again, seeing that, this fair value gap is now fully balanced. So if we're actually bullish, there's no need to even return into the midpoint or the high really at all. And that's why this 1 minute became the new area of interest. Wicks into it, look at the bodies. Bodies are a big part of that. Bodies hovering away. So when the bodies don't even make an attempt into the fair value gap, that is just an added signature. There is the actual fair value gap. So they said that would have been the original exit. We took it here, one less handle. Right, so instead of 62.49, we go 62.48. No need to be greedy. This might be a swing high. That's the only reason I'd be salty. For the aesthetics, right? That's not aesthetically pleasing. No swing high exit. So now, because we have hit this, this is where we can then get retracements into discounts like this, or even this, and still hold, okay? So we can come back into the original discounts and still respect it. That's the same exact idea that we were using here. Right, is that when we run out the buy side, that's why we can get retracements into inefficiencies that have already been used, and they will be used again. But now once we use it again and move away, that's when it should be done. Right, so in reality, I would like for this to just keep running. Like if we close above this midpoint here of this fair value gap, we'll actually move stop below this midpoint here. Because now I'd pretty much just want the volume imbalances to hold and this swing low. And if we get stopped, it's all right. But if this is every time, I hate that. You have to like go, okay. Like that. Modify, there it is. We can already do that. Yeah, well, we'll go like this actually. No. I'm sorry, fellas. Hold up. Fucking idiot. How many times are we gonna do this? Keyboard unplugged. Sorry, everybody. Classic idiot move. Coffee everywhere. Like, what are we doing? Shit gets me pissed. Hey, Scotty, thank you. I'm glad you find it helpful, Scotty. Where are we at? At this point, not much really to go over. Okay, still at this, we're just waiting for the high. So we either get the high or we come back down, get stopped here in profit. I like the high though. Up here, we'll label it as well just so we could see the buy side. Boom, buy side. Yeah, we should get that fairly easy. Okay. Like that. Just moving our stop up a little bit more. Should actually be right below. We'll give it a little bit more space, actually. We'll go right here. 150 exactly. No, Mike, I think that's a sign. You're right. Coffee's no longer allowed. Only bad things happen every time. Although it is self-inflicted, but you would think I'd learn eventually. God damn. Like, my keyboard's cooked for sure at this point. It was already sticky. That time it went straight into keyboard, so I'm like, yeah. After this, I'll probably have to just toss it, get a new one. Because we done cooked ourselves. I mean, the good thing is I have a giant desk and keyboard, so it kept it all on the desk this time. But the keyboard literally is pooling coffee. I could see it in the keyboard right now. Shit. Alrighty, well, that keyboard's gone. So at this point, we'll just get choppy, okay? That's expected after bullish moves, especially bullish moves that deliver into untapped inefficiencies. You'll see this little slight consolidation. Still expect buy side though. Right, that's our final objective. Stop loss, very comfortable area. Closure above the fair value gap, stop loss will get moved to this low. Because then at that point, just going to secure more. Almost use that, because I'd like the partial there, but since we only have one contract, we have to use the stop loss as the partial. So as we test that area, we'll jam the stop right below the most recent swing low that in my mind should be held if we're going to reach into buy side right away with this current leg. A lot of relative equal highs, right? So we're starting to build equal highs here. I have the entire, let me go like this, because this is the true fair value gap. That's what we're hitting. And then we have a volume balance here as well. Right, so as I'm looking at this, I would want a partial as we run out these highs, because we could run out the equal highs, hit the volume balance, and then reject. So because of that, that's why I'll move my stop as soon as we, even if it's a wick, like if we wick this, I'm just going to move my stop right away. And then I'll take a stop out if it comes. Once again, oh, just like that. Because from there, we could see a quick rejection to run this low out. And if that's the case, I just want to be done. Yep. Rejection. Okay. We would want to see this turn into the wick with the push through the wick. If this turns into a swing high, that's when we expect stop loss. But at this point, we've secured more than 5 handles. Right. So in theory, as we're saying, that is a partial. So we'll either take the stop out now, deep in profit, or we get the final TP at the buy side. And because we are too precise sometimes, we'll go one tick below. I always preach that, right? Don't be too precise. Because we've seen multiple times, price hits that perfectly and we don't get out. $781. Yeah, I like that. Or what do you mean first, I guess? Like before we break the lower? Because, yeah, I mean, if that's the case, I would expect that in both. Like, I don't want price to break lower. We just understand it could. But ideally, we would just keep running bullish. Yeah, I mean, ideally, we would. Like, I'd want to see that. That's why we're here. Because in theory, if we come down first, we could still have a chance of wicking that and running, but I don't like the idea of running this low out right now, as we're this close to the buy side. NQ's in a little different spot because we have an actual fair value gap. So like I could see NQ wanting to do this, and that could still hold. Whereas in ES, that fair value gap is non-existent. So I'm a little more demanding in the delivery of ES at this point. Especially because, right, as we say, fair value gap, holding bodies, volume imbalance, holding wicks, last premium will hold price if the external range does not want to be hit. This is the last premium. So this will be like the final kind of barrier, which is why tight loss is stop now. Or stop loss is tight. I said tight loss is stop. What is that? What you can do is treat, this is another type of like hidden ICT concept, is you trade what's not in the chart is what he calls it. Right, so because we have a 1 minute fair value gap here, that's this candle in ES. But instead of the fair value gap, this was an immediate rebalance. But now you would still be able to look at this and treat it as a gap, as a fair value gap. That should hold price, and that's what we're seeing right now, right? So a little more of an advanced concept. Trading what's not in the chart is what he would call it, refer to. That is terrible, if I'm being honest. So we're running the equal highs once again, but now holding bodies even lower than the previous body. Like this candle needs to close outside of the fair value gap, or I would expect a quick run into this low, to be honest. Let's see, we got 2 seconds. Yeah, that's ugly. And we open with the bearish volume imbalance. So if this bearish volume imbalance can completely negate and create no wick to the downside, that's cool. But if it does, as we say, my expectation would actually be we'll probably come for that low. Need to hold the gap. And I mean, look at the respect, right? Hard to argue it. Look at the bodies, look at the wicks. So in reality, I can move this, and I don't want to see this hold. Because if we get under that, I would expect we get down here anyway. Especially after that, if that swing high holds, which it looks like it will. Bearish volume imbalance. Yeah, that's ugly. Very ugly. Back to back. This one needs to be straight bullish. No wick to the downside. Don't hesitate here at the high of this breakout side of it. Hesitation at the high will probably lead it to fall back down and leave that open. Yeah, nope, don't want that. We need to get above the volume imbalance we just created right here. So we would have to see a full bullish candle with no wick to the downside. No hesitation here. Closure above that. Closure above the fair value gap as well, because that's another issue. We have yet to even close above it, right? The wicks are doing the damage. But as we say, if we can get above it with a body, that will release us into buy side. So if this could be it, right? As soon as we close above, we should then use that fair value gap as support to release it. If we do this and reject this volume imbalance and stay inside of the fair value gap right now, especially if we got back underneath this volume imbalance, I wouldn't like that. Oh yeah, I don't like that at all, actually. Okay. So we're getting ugly here. Once again, I'd need to see the same thing. We had no wick to the downside. That's good. I would want this to do the same exact thing. Maintain straight bullish delivery. Closure above needed. Because now if we just keep testing the volume imbalance and we can't clear this high, that's not going to be good. It'll be even worse if we run this high and hold this range with the bodies. So 2 things that we're looking at. That is cool and all, but we need to actually close above or take us out. If we get taken out, I don't care what it does at that point. But if we don't get taken out here and it does not close above this, I don't like that. Matter of fact, we go like this. Because I don't even want to see midpoint be broken. So we'll go very tight stop because, yeah, that's ridiculous right there. What did NQ? Did NQ clear that high? No. We'll see if we get one more stab. I'll even give it some. I'll let it breathe a little bit, right? Low-hanging fruit. So if we could wick that high one more time, we'll get out. Now do we need to see the buy side. Once again, not going to push hard for an extra half handle. That's only a half of handle. Like, that's fine. Uh-oh, wait. Not liking that. That volume bounces. We'll go in there. Just want to be out at this point, to be honest. Cool, we're out. We should run buy side, right? But as I said, is it really worth fighting for less than one handle? No. Peace of mind over precision. Now we just watch, right? It should run into the buy side, but if it doesn't, we're already out. And if it does, even better, because we expected it. Look at the way it just hesitates there. I always love seeing stuff like that. Just kind of confirming algorithmic delivery. Like, where do we go, right? We go into this first perfectly, and then we go right here, and now we're just bouncing. Always love that. Look at it. Just continuing, just referencing it. Bing, bing, bing. And stuff like this is why I always try to exit a tick below, because there's been plenty of times where like it would reject from here exactly and run all the way back down and stop me out. So I'm like, right, well, there's no need to be that precise. It's always nice. Like, sure, it would have been nice to catch a swing high. But you know what's nicer than swing highs? Money. There's the blast through. Okay, so finally releases. To be honest now, oh, what time is it? 10:30. It's not even 10:30 yet. Wow. We might keep going then. These here. I first would target at the actual highs. Because even though we did run it here, this is the actual true key level. The original buy side. That wick, we treat more as like a rejection block. So it'd be like this, right? But to be honest, yeah, we might even be like, you could add another one. Really, here is when I would do that. We'll follow it. I'm not going to actually do it. This will be more of a tape read here. If we wanted 5, we can get, oh, what in the? Okay. Interesting. Well, that works. And there's NQ as well. So to be honest, that's really all the objectives I had. Of course, we could still go bullish, right? So like, we could stay bullish, but that high right there is really what I was aiming for off of the 4 hour here. Internal range, not looking for the external range. So we'll hang out a little bit more, but as far as entry, we'll probably be done. Beautiful, beautiful delivery this morning, actually. I love that. So we'll do a quick little review, I guess, right now. Now that the objective has been met. So as we said, we wanted to see higher prices. That's been the underlying objective really for the last few months, is just the macro perspective, right? We expect continued higher prices. So as we notice that price has delivered lower heading into 930, I'm simply waiting for some type of bullish reversal to trust. Let's bring up these again. All right, so originally we're looking at this low inside of a higher time frame fair value gap. We attempt to clear that low we can. So we create the failure swing here, holding higher time frame, we displace away, and we created a 5-minute fair value gap. So immediately, that's what I'm looking at. Right, I'm looking at the most recent discount created as we leave the higher time frame inefficiency. It ends up being closed below. So if that's the case, we should use it as an inversion and attack this low. But instead, the very next candle immediately closes back above. To me, that was the signal there. Right, that was the market telling us that it does not want to clear lows. Instead, it's going to continue and deliver towards buy-side objectives. Right? So as we create the inversion, reclaim it bullish, that 5 minute now was overlapped, as we said, with today's, or not today's, but previous first presented fair value gaps. So inside of the 5, we're using the first presented as our entry, just because it gives a little bit better entry. We said you could use the high of the 5 minute, but that would be like the low hanging fruit entry. I figured because it was chopping, it'd be a little bit more precise and we could use midpoint. Lo and behold, we end up catching that swing low beautifully. We then accelerate, closing at new day opening gap. We then said, okay, well, we created a new first presented. We've done all the work of returning into the 5. We held first presented and we've displaced above a new day opening gap, leaving today's first presented fair value gap. That became our new area of entry as well. Right, so from there, we end up low ticking this, give 1, 2 more runs lower. We said that we could retest the 5 and still hold. That's where we end up trading into. And then from there, we reclaim the bullish fair value gap. We create a new bullish that holds us. And then we got out, as we said, just below the actual inefficiency here. So we're aiming for that. We don't need to be that precise. We partial out as we run up into equal highs. At this point now, we deliver into the inefficiency, we consolidate, and our final target was buy side here. Once again, just getting out a little bit below that. So as we run out all these highs with the wicks, we're closing, buy side gets delivered, and now we've actually hit this intermediate swing point. So from here, we could honestly, if we're going to look for continued bullishness, this fair value gap here holds us, we get above this little wick, and then we use that as support to keep running for potentially all these highs over here. Conversely, NQ as well, just as clean, really. Right, same idea. We create the inversion with the bullish fair value gap, acceleration. We use our 830 level. We actually had a first or a opening range gap that was useful in NQ. So it accelerates, it closes above, closing above a new day opening gap, revisits its midpoint, displaces above a high, creating first presented, wicks into the first presented while the bodies hold the actual liquidity. We always like to see that. Displacement again, new discount holds. So just textbook buy side delivery, honestly, just a textbook buy program. Right, once we clear that low, all discounts are holding. Discount holds, discount holds, discount holds. Get above, discount holds, new opening gap, new first presented. So we might come for, honestly, yeah, I'd look for yesterday's high if we're going to stay bullish like this. We might try one more little scalp, to be honest. Let's see. See how precise we could be. So like we say, we don't want that fair value gap. It's not worth. It's not worth. To get 5, we'd have to get. Okay. $10.30. Okay, so this is the highest high created morning range. If we get above that and we just keep pushing, we may actually run all the way back up for this high. Use the 4 hour. Let's go to the 4 hour real quick. Yeah, right. Wick that. That's super bullish. This is our objective here on a higher time frame. So we could run out. Yeah, we could run out some of these highs for sure. Let's bring up this 1 hour. So on a higher time frame, this is the last premium. So we may actually hesitate here for a little bit. Notice how that 1 hour is perfectly aligned with previous day's high. Right. So that's kind of, yeah, I could see us holding, as we said, from here. If you want to do a quick scalp into that would be cool. That's like a higher frequency trading algo type of scalp, which will probably work. I would expect that to work, but a little bit too small for my liking. Be something like that. Little one-to-one action. Tape read it. Let's see. Equal highs there, so that seeing that, my expectation would be it's going to create one more run into it.
So many women
And see, stuff like this could be your whole model, to be honest. That's the beauty of concepts like this, is that like you're not forced into a certain box or a certain model. If you get proficient with reading price, you can create whatever model you see fit. Could be easy one-to-ones. It could be, like, some people do large RR with lower win rate. I've kind of morphed more into just consistent base hits, not really capturing large moves. But if we start trending, I'll probably switch that to start holding more so for like the daily range again. Because I used to do that. Close most and then leave one on most of the day to just let it run. But lately, we're not really in the trending environment, so stuff like that isn't really recommended because we come back on the entry so many times. But if we can start trending, like if we get all-time highs and start moving, or if we start moving lower, regardless, just if we can get a trending environment, those super trades per se are a lot more lucrative. I'd look for midnight to hold at this point, okay? So as we say, original wick, we trade above it. Notice how we do it too. We create the wick, we trade above the wick. So now we've created 2 wick gaps, which is what I would say I would want something like this to hold. Notice how the top wick here is the midnight level exactly, as we say, not random. So we would expect that, especially after coming into this one here, we close above here, we create this little OB. We should hold this paired with midnight until we get previous day's high. So I'm really looking at this now. And it should accelerate us with the bodies holding into previous day's high. We'll probably get stopped at the lower quadrant of the 1 hour first, however, so we can expect that. All right, if I bring that up. Yep, that is what we hit. So expect hesitation there, but then previous day's high. Perfect. Oh my goodness. Look at that. I mean, come on now. Perfect. And then what? Wick into midpoint. Do we get upper quadrant level? Just love seeing it. All right, so we kiss that. I mean, look where the body closes though. We hit midnight, we close on the lower quadrant. As we said, this to me from here could be the rejection. So a very large bullish run into an untapped higher time frame inefficiency, picking up a short-term high and hitting previous day's high. This would be a clear-cut area for price to reverse now. If we displace under midnight, you could almost just use midnight as a short stop above the actual 1 hour. And then, right, 5 handles is easy. I could see buy side. I could see this, to be honest, as well. Because to be honest, we've never come into this, right? As we leave it the first time, close above with the volume imbalance. No attempt into it. It was already balanced, so we didn't need to in this current price delivery. But if price were to switch pretty much its order flow, then you could look for that, right? Beautiful, so beautiful. I just love it. Broken record, but I mean, like, this is why, like, when people try to argue against ICT stuff, it's just like, they just haven't spent enough time. Because once you see it, you can't unsee it. It's hard to argue against it. Unless you're just being willfully ignorant, right? And not really wanting to learn. You're just trying to be a contrarian. Haters, that's a good way. Haters, you can call them for sure. Like, I can get being skeptical. Right? Skepticism's fine. But when it's just like blatant hatred, disregard for facts, that's when I get, that's what cracks me up. You're not even giving yourself a chance, man. At least spend like a week or two just watching it, right? Convince yourself it's not real. That's what I did anyway. Crack the code. I'd agree, man. I don't know what he did, but right, you could argue the semantics of it all, of whether or not he's actually the algorithm creator, whether or not people took him from his home. All that stuff I think is just entertainment. It's funny. But as far as the actual inner workings, when you're looking at the chart, it's hard to argue the stuff that he's taught. To be fair, he only did it for free because he already made millions. To be completely fair. Like, would he have came out for free if he wasn't already a multi-millionaire? Maybe not. Who knows? He could have. It's also one of those things where I think as he gets older, it's like, why hang on to it? Yeah, exactly. Right. I think he's at the point now where, like, once the nozzle's open, it's just going to start flowing. Which is good for us. Good for people trying to learn. But at the same time, it almost makes it, I wouldn't say harder, but it can make it a little more difficult to actually learn, just because at this point there's so much. So like if you're a new guy trying to learn by yourself, I could see that being a pretty difficult task with just all the information out there nowadays. That is true. Yeah, you could just use a little part of it. But unfortunately, most people, when they go into it, that's not their mindset, right? It's like, I got to learn everything, and I got to learn it all at once. And that backfires tremendously. I mean, I feel like we all did it. I know I did that first. Like when I first started getting into ICT, it was like, all right, let me learn about order blocks and breaker blocks and mitigation blocks and rejection blocks and fair value gaps and volume imbalances all at once. And that just prolonged the success, that's for sure. It was only after I spent time mastering each one by itself did it all start to make sense, coming together. Upper quadrant, as we said. Beautiful. All right, so once again, lower quadrant first, then midpoint, retracement, then upper quadrant, back to midpoint, and then the high. Facts, Scotty. Very true. But honestly, like being able to just sit here and read price, not many people have the patience to learn that. That's why I think like the models, the ICT model, the inversion models, or like the breaker People like that stuff because it's quick. Like anyone can see a breaker form, right? Doesn't mean it's always going to work, but for people that don't need that deep understanding, that's all they're looking for. Whereas for me, I want to know exactly when will a breaker work, right? When will a fair value gap hold? When should certain PD rates be violated? And that only comes from time, and you can't really shortcut that. And it's weird because I can almost feel myself in real time removing some of the confusion, or I wouldn't even say confusion, but it just becomes more clear. Even like a year ago, I just feel like my understanding and my ability to expect where price will go has tremendously increased. And honestly, can't lie, that's because of stuff that ICT has added lately. Right back to what Mike said, like some of the free stuff that he's come out with has immediately helped me. But at the same time, I don't think it would have helped me if I didn't spend the time I did to already understand everything else, if that makes sense. Like once you learn ICT, it's very easy to add in new concepts because you kind of understand how they'll work. But if you're trying to learn new concepts as they're being released and you're kind of unfamiliar with it all, it makes it tough. Elevate, yes, sir. There it is. Right where, that's hilarious. Where does it reject? It takes the stairs up very methodically, wear perfectly into the 1 hour high, and then boom, falls right out of bed. That one didn't even give entry, honestly. I was going to try to put one on a previous day here if we could have broke, but instead we just went straight for it. Potentially here. Equal lows, so I would watch that. Really, if we're going to get back inside this range, oftentimes that original range will hold. So if we displace inside the range, we retrace up into it. Maybe we'll leave an inefficiency, but I wouldn't be surprised if it just fell out of bed from here again. I'm pretty sure the hourly will be a wick, right? So yeah, that makes sense. That's what you would expect to see. Oh, I need to have this up. This one actually helps a lot. I like this one. The power of 3. I need to reset that for a 1 hour candlestick. Bullish will be green, bearish. So far this candle's been all bullish, right? We could run back down. Watch this, to be honest. I don't mind that for a short right there. This is a rather large gap. So like for me, low-hanging fruit entry would be using that. I would almost wait for midnight though. So you can have a little bit less risk. Try to enter on midnight to get back into, as we said, this untapped inefficiency for the first time. Low-hanging fruit, though, as we say, we'll just use the actual fair value gap. So you would go like this, which would be a wider stop, so you would need a wider run. But if you just want to be in, that's the best area to look for. I like midnight, so I'll watch for midnight. How I use the power of 3? For me, it's more so just understanding higher time frame order flow, okay? So like, let's say that the expectation is that we're going to run lower. While as I look at the 1 hour candlestick, so far from the opening, we haven't really had any sell side movement, right? We tried originally, barely, but this has all been pretty much bullish. So the expectation would be, all right, especially because there's 13 minutes left in this candlestick. If we want to actually create, not even a full bearish, but create a larger wick on the 1 hour, then this should quickly fall. Right, because that 1 hour is going to close in 13 minutes. So if we want to see it either be bearish or kind of have a larger wick, price should fall aggressively within the next 13 minutes to close the 1 hour candlestick. So I'm more so using them as a way to gauge kind of right where price should go and how quickly it should go. It also just removes some confusion of like consolidation like this if you need it. So we do actually completely close above that. So if we're going to do that, 1 hour could still hold, but midnight may be an area of support at this point. And it also helps with like, right, being able to see, because I'm using the 1 hour, so I want the corresponding candle technically if I'm looking at it. So having that allows us to get a better picture, right? Because we could still technically hold this and break because that's the 1 hour candle. So ideally, that's what we would want to see if bearish prices were going to continue. Oh, we actually picked up that low. Okay, I didn't realize that. Just barely there, actually. So this may be a bullish leg. Short-term lows cleared. Displacement above midnight. Yeah, I'd almost expect midnight to be support. And if that's the case, 1 hour candlestick will actually stay bullish. Because if we were going to hold this, we should have respected midnight. And now we've actually created a fair value gap perfectly aligned with midnight. That's bullish after running and clearing a short-term low. Previous day's high still has a chance, so we'll see. 10 minutes until 11. We'll let this 1 minute candlestick or 1 hour close. To the 15-minute OB and fair value gap. Just straight into it. Very pretty. Large wick. So as we said, that's the current 1 hour candlestick. 4 hours going to be the same, 10 o'clock. Five-minute wick. 2-minute holds. Honestly, I would rather favor shorts still. Like, I don't want to see previous day's high hold price and create another leg lower. 10.50 right now, so we'll see if we get some type of macro. And Q already ran that high out, so to me, that's bullish, actually. Which that might change my idea. I actually would think ES is going to run that high as well. Because that was the breaker. That's like the unicorn breaker setup. Breaker with displacement on a 1 minute. ES will probably catch up, actually. Keep this. So this will turn into a full bullish candle in a 1 hour sense. Which means this might become a breaker as well, actually. If we close above this 1 hour, because we're going to leave that, we'll probably leave a fair value gap here as well. So like if this candlestick closed above, we're going to leave a 1 minute fair value gap here. Ooh, it does. Okay. So it might still leave it. Let's see. Because all right, if we leave that fair value gap, it'll be paired with previous day's high and will be above the 1 hour now. Especially if the 1 hour closes above that. So we'll have to wait till 10 to have a better understanding. Or I guess it'd be 11 o'clock. But on the 1 minute sense, like if we did close above that, you could almost get a quick scalp. Let's see, midnight. Leave midnight alone for 5 handles. So the 1 hour is expanded through. Yeah, I'd expect the continued bullishness now. NQ just short of a first presented. was that 1 to 5? Nah. We'll tape read this here. No need for entry. Getting a little bit too close to like final exits for me to enter again. One hour, respecting that level beautifully though. You might hold that midnight on the higher time frame. Well, okay. We held that high actually. Retapping midnight. This is where price should hold if it wants to be bullish. Or as we said, perfect 1 minute aligned with the midnight. Can move this wick for now. It's a 1 minute here. Breaker, retest, and NQ as well. So it'd be an easy area to hold price. I'm debating doing this. Very small. We're gonna retest that once, twice. We're under midnight. You know what? I don't mind this. It's already had a lot of wins on the day. Right? Good profit. So we'll try to get back. Well, I don't mind giving back a little bit here with the small entry. I'm gonna try to catch a short into this low. Just using the 1 hour. So we're gonna have the, or I guess have the expectation that 1 hour wants to hold us. Original liquidity again. We'll even cut that in half. Very low risk. All right, this will be the last one here. So I'm looking pretty much at, right, this bearish fair value gap. If we invert that, we should have held that bullish, but instead we reclaim that bearish. We leave the 1 hour again. We created a bullish volume imbalance paired with the low of the 1 hour. We invert that, leaving a bearish fair value gap there. So to me, that'll be, we're going to try to just use that for entry. The 1 minute fair value gap, the inversion volume imbalance, the 1 hour fair value gap. And then we'll target these relative equal lows here. Try to get this original buy side pretty much. And at this point, because as we said, we've tested the high once, rejected. We've tested it again, rejected. Stop is right at the high because I wouldn't even want to see midpoint be broken. So like in my mind, if we get consequent encroachment of the 1 hour, we'll get stopped out quick. This will be the last one for today. One hour should close below this area. So now how we would use power of 3 for this one, right? This is going to be the new 1 hour candlestick. So as I look at this, I'd want power of 3 to be, well, where you open, you manipulate up and create the bearish wick. And then I would want the actual 1 hour candlestick to close bearish. So we would look for the rejection and the lower delivery, which would create a bearish candle with its wick to the upside. I would have liked to see this be inverted. Okay, so if we're wrong quick, that's fine. Either way, we should be wrong or right quickly in here. As you said, we've retested the high of this multiple times. So if we're going to retest its midpoint, we'll probably just run straight outside of it. And we're waiting for that next 1 hour candlestick to be bullish. Yeah, like that. Okay, so my expectation would be actually volume imbalance here stays open. It'll hit the midpoint and it will run right into the high of this 1 hour. This would pretty much need to close in, get back underneath previous day's high, but we close above that as well. So I'm not looking too hot here. NQ might be able to run that SMT, but as we say, if we're going to close above this midpoint, that volume imbalance is going to be the 1 hour. So if that stays open, stop loss for sure. Only hope would be to pretty much just close that in, immediately try to reject. But as we said, for us, best entries will be swing points. So when we enter and it immediately becomes not a swing, I'm already expecting to stop. There it is. So that stays open. So yeah, we'll look for this here. Probably relative equal highs now. So we're going to try the quick little reversal. Instead, might just continue bullishness. Right, the expectation would be we hit this, we're going to hold that. If we can displace outside of this, it'd be nice, but I don't really expect that. I expect the newest discount to hold price. So the wick will go into the fair value gap. Bodies will actually hold midpoint and the volume imbalance. And then that'll create a pretty aggressive pump up to run out some equal highs. If we could, let's say, reclaim midpoint, even though this fair value gap's here, I still wouldn't really trust that. We would need to fall outside of the 1 hour to have any trust in this setup. So we need to fall aggressively because we have that same fair value gap here, right? So to me, this is more bullish and we will expect a stop out. Yep, held that beautifully. Okay. Oh yeah, that's definitely. So almost next candle, more than likely, we'll get the high of it. Did NQ run that high? It did. So if we can get actually a quick reversal, maybe we have a chance. NQ ran these highs. ES was unable to. But once again, right, we need to reclaim this because we're using previous day high as support. That's not good. If this candle finds support again, I almost would expect a quick stop out. Midpoint of the 1 minute, we need to fall outside. As we said, need to get outside of the 1 hour. Because that right there is just very, yeah, it's not good. Very bullish. We need to, as we say, take the elevator down from this point. Quick fall. We close right on entry. I like that we were able to get under this midpoint. But that volume imbalance may try to hold price, so I'm not really convinced yet. As we said, the 1 hour and this 1 minute. If we get below that, I'd be a little more trusting in this. So we're waiting to see if that can't form. Ideally get below this and start turning this into a bearish candle on an hourly. But as we said, right, consolidation within a higher time frame inefficiency after creating expansive moves. So that's pretty textbook. We were looking to catch expansion, consolidation, reversal. But it looks like it's just going to want to go consolidation, expansion again. Yeah, we hold that volume imbalance perfectly. From here, we would need to break. If we get above midpoint again, stop for sure. NQ running highs again, right? So NQ is trying to stay strong. We'll see if ES is going to do that. Extreme, geez, it's so bullish. That's first presented. Interesting. I mean, if we could break, that'd be nice. I think this is more of a six sister though, that we're just going to stay bullish. Let's see if we can reject midpoint. So if midpoint can reject, nope, we close above. So yeah, high for sure. Right, we reclaim the volume balance. That was our one attempt to get out. We hold the low instead. So it's going to run for the high of that 1 hour. We got the high of the first presented in NQ. That's the upper quadrant of this. So we'll see, but not looking too hot. I'm not convinced in that really. I think we go higher. It'd be from here, volume balance aligned with previous day's high perfectly. If we get under that, maybe we have a chance. If we do, stop loss will be here, because if we run up this high, we're going to run out up here anyway. Still looking to see if we can't leave. We need to leave this 1 hour, this 1 minute. Refusing to, right? Holding that volume balance aggressively. There's the low of the 1 hour. Can we get outside? Nope. Does not want to. Trying again. Let's see if we get an immediate rejection here. If it doesn't want to get outside, it won't like that, right? And it'll snap back into this quickly. Kind of just like that. So that's not, yeah, not too hot there. Because it's still the 1 minute bullish OB right here. While NQ stays bullish. Another attempt to get outside. Can it? Can it? Can it? It cannot. Oofda. Oofda. Okay, yeah. We're about to go bullish. We're about to absolute fly. Watch. That's twice. That's double rejection off OB. 5 minute. Nah, that's kind of just where you commit to it. Right, we have our area of invalidation, so this is just the sloppy entries. As we said, if we don't catch a swing higher, we already expect to either be wrong or for it to be a high resistance liquidity run. Because we've gotten to the point now to where any entry we take usually is going to be a high or a low. And if it's not, that gives us an immediate kind of indication that we are not in an A+ setup. So pretty much this would need to immediately reject in my mind. We close above midpoint again, this high will be taken. Right, because we create these lows, we then run out highs, we then run out lows. So we're just seeking destroying within here. That's why I'd want to actually break out of the range and maintain the bearishness if we're going to be on sides. Having to sit through the chop, and then we'll look for a quick fall ideally. Closure outside of this, we cannot, geez. And that's as NQ. So NQ is stronger, right? So as we fall, we would expect ES to be weaker and fall quicker, but instead it's really not. There we go. We're finally getting the leave. At this point, as we said, we can mitigate because if we get that high, we're going to get the high of that fair value gap anyway. Where's 5 handles? Can we just go like 5 handles? 5 handles aligns with, maybe we just go for this fair value gap. That's fine with me. Because I don't like this, right? This could hold easily. Like if we ran out this low or hold the volume imbalance, especially if we don't close outside. Like if that closes right there, that's going to be terrible. We need to close outside. Oof. Yeah, it's not good at all, actually. Right, notice that we can't even get outside. We hold that range. So this is kind of where we would expect an immediate rejection. If we can run through this wick, that'll be good, but I don't like that at all. NQ runs out some short-term lows and holds. We'll hold in the volume balance and the fair value gap here. We need to get below it. Retesting it there, need to get below it. Closure below should send it lower. Still no closure outside. We keep testing the low, but right, the more we do that, the less I like this, to be honest. We need to actually move quickly. There we go. Close below that. Closure below, so at this point, I'll even go here. Just continuing to mitigate risk. Because in reality, we should hold this high. Like in my mind, this should be our protected high right here. And we should not run out that high. Closure below this. That's good. We'll look for continued bearishness. Don't want to be wicking like that. Don't like that. The more wicks of sell side we do, the higher chance for a quick reversal. Right, so we want to continue to close below lows, not wick lows. Because you can tell every time, right? So we create this original low, we clear that low with a wick. We create the equal lows, we clear that low with a wick. We create these equal lows, we clear that low with the wick. So even though we're moving lower, it's not really aggressive bearish delivery that we'd want to see. So new swing low, let's see if we attack that low, what happens? Equal lows, can't even run it with a wick. We need to get outside and below this fair value gap and the volume imbalance. As NQ's doing this, yeah, we need to fall. Continued fall. Oh, geez. Yeah, we're getting annoying here. Closure below. Okay, so we should just go. That's our protected high. Once again, we've mitigated risk. So nice. Pretty much cut risk in half. Beautiful. So now we'll just hold this. We either get stopped or we take full TP. I'd want to see the volume imbalance hold bodies bearish. Now, I don't want it to be where we negate this previous candle's actions, right? So if we close below, especially because we have a bullish volume imbalance here, if this candle closes back above, we're probably going to come back into this 1 hour. Unfortunately, like we should maintain this bearishness. So we need to see this candle hold the high of this 1 minute and actually close back underneath the volume imbalance with its body. Just like that. Okay, so we need that to maintain though. We need to keep that below. Ideally, we close bearish, so we kind of close in this volume imbalance here. So if we can at least close where this previous candle closed, that'd be like best case scenario. Worst case scenario, we accelerate and close above the volume imbalance and the fair value gap. So we didn't do that, but we did negate this candle, so I don't like that. Because we close below, next candle closes right back inside, right? So to me, we kind of negate this candle's actions, which means we'll probably look for a retracement back up. And at this point, we would need to hold this inversion or the 1 hour. Stop loss is above the high. Because, right, we have this inversion, we have the volume imbalance, we have the 1 minute inversion, and we have the higher time frame 1 hour. We get above all of that, we'll probably come up for highs. Would want this to reject. Notice how, once again, as we said, when we run the equal lows, just a wick. So any run lower is not really a true bearish break. It's just picking up liquidity, which will lead to these quick, explosive moves back higher. And Q holds its midpoint, so yeah, I'd expect stop this high potentially. Unless this midpoint can hold, we need to break immediately from here. Ideally, no wick to the upside. Okay, but now we're going to retest this. So if we wick here, that's immediate rebalance. If we hold this, I would for sure expect this, because that's going to be a bullish immediate rebalance, which will send the next candle bullish as well. If not this one, right, we'll just run straight higher. Because it went lower first and it tapped that. So if we do create a wick to the upside, that's not going to be that good. We need this to maintain extreme bearish pressure, right? Speed, ideally getting back underneath. Like, we don't want to use this as a reclaimed bullish. And as we said, that's going to be immediately rebalanced now. So what usually will happen after that is the next candle will be, like, say we're bullish, right? We've immediately rebalanced higher. Next candle will push higher right away. Yeah, we did. Okay. And we stayed inside the 1 hour. So yeah, my expectation is that this next candle is going to run bullish as well. Make a pass at the midpoint. If we can somehow fall below this wick, that'll be good. But as we said, we've just immediately rebalanced this. So that will tend to lead to explosive movements. Which is why I'm thinking if we're going to do it this way, more than likely we'll get another run here higher. Especially if the bodies are going to hold that level. If we can somehow fall underneath it, we'll have a chance. But now we're just getting choppy. We do have relative equal lows. So we could see like a quick fall. That'd be nice. Something like this. Pretty much that's what we're waiting for at this point. We want to get a quick explosive. Just disregard. Clear out all this. Well, holding midnight as well. I'm not liking that either. That's why I didn't want to create this immediate rebalance here. Right, because that's the midnight. This fair value gap. At this point, though, as we said, we've already cut risk in half, so now it's more so just waiting. We'll either get stopped out or we'll run into this TP. And then we'll call it a day. Retesting midnight, we need to fall through that. We do not want that. Don't want the immediate rejections off midnight. Need immediate fall through, if anything, really. Nope, not a fan, not a fan. Yeah, okay. Definitely not a fan. Body's not even getting near midnight. Need to fall through that heavy. We fall through this again, stop loss will pretty much be break even now. But this is bullish right here. Midnight. While NQ does the same, consolidating within that. That leads to those huge explosive moves. 1 hour candlestick going bullish again. Previous day high is last line of defense pretty much. But yeah, holding midnight like that, that's gross. Say it was in a full entry here, so we already went in with half of a 1/4%. We usually do 1/4%. So we did half of that already. And we've cut risk down from that. So really in reality, like this, we're not risking anything at all. But if I was somehow still in this with the full risk and we weren't able to mitigate, this is where it actually closed half of the position. Right, so as we make an attempt to leave, we kind of negate the first area that we're trying, and we don't even get the swing high entry. We're consolidating, we try to leave, we can't, and we continue to retest entry. I'm cutting risk there because it's already shown that we're in lower probability conditions. It's going to be a high resistance liquidity run. So I would rather protect some risk and still take a win rather than take a full stop, right? But because we're already mitigated risk and it's a lot less than what we normally would do, at this point, we're fine just letting it gyrate here. And if it stops us out, it stops us out, right? So those previous days high, that needs to be last line of defense, as we said. This volume imbalance here, we would need to break right away. Coming for the high. There it is. All right, so we're out. At that point, oh well, right? We said very minuscule stop out. And now we could be done for the day. So overall, great day. Right, we start with the original longs here. As you said, coming off of the 4 hour, we create the failure swing holding it. We displace above, creating a 5-minute fair value gap. At 9:30, we run down, pick up sell side. We then clear sell side one more time, getting back above the 5-minute, getting back above the first presented, and that becomes our area of entry. So first presented fair value gap paired with midpoint of the 5, understanding this is our protected swing low. And then we took many partials throughout, right? So this was the final target like this. But we partial as we run out this high. First partial. That partial is also aligned with a new day opening gap, so that makes sense. We catch that swing high. We then create today's first presented here. So that's where we stack as we trade down into that, low tick in that there. Right at this point, this trade became break even. This stop went here like this. We understood that the 5-minute could be retested. So we almost get stopped, but right, we understand the key areas in price. So it comes down, it holds, it accelerates. We're able to take a partial again at this high now. And once again, that was a new day opening gap. So after partialing from here, at that point, we're already break even, stop losses in profit, so we can let our final contract run into our buy side objective. And as we said, we just closed one handle below that. Didn't need to be too precise. So as we run out this little wick, that becomes our target, and we close there. You see here, we did try a little short, but at this point, we're just stuck in a consolidation. So, oh well, right, small risk in there. At this point, really don't have any much more bias. I still like buy side potentially, but we can just let price gyrate within here. So yeah, we'll leave you with that. Hopefully you found it helpful. Going forward, as I said, I still favor buy side. So let's go to an hourly real quick. I still want to see this high, but we might just have to wait for the 1 hour to get inverted. So at the time being, we're going to create a 1 hour. Let me clear all this. We're going to create a 1 hour fair value gap right here. More than likely, I would guess. So we may need to dip down into that first. Maybe even its midpoint or something, who knows. But then from there, I'd look for something like this. All right, so hold, this becomes like a speed bump for the time being. We consolidate while this 1 hour gets created. Then we fall into the 1 hour, and then we can release and attack the buy side. That's what I'd look for going forward. Just a continued bullishness. 4 hour, yeah, same thing. Right, we're using the most recent 4 hour. So until something changes, we expect that to hold. Real quick, I'm gonna look at this for you, Mike. Let's see where we're at compared to what we told you yesterday. Gold. Same idea, okay. So daily. Consolidation. 4 hour holds. Okay, so yeah, I still like that in gold as well. Higher prices up here. All right, buddy, if you don't have any questions or anything, we'll give it a few more minutes just to be sure. That's all for today. Day after day, right? This stuff continues, so hopefully you guys are seeing that. There's always a trade to be taken. It's always going to be an opportunity. Repeats every day. This is kind of when we're on bullish, I bet, here, but let's see. NQ, same. Just bullish delivery. Nice. What's the daily candlestick look like? Classic power of 3. I don't want to see what the daily candlestick is going to look like. Go one day. Yeah, that's money. Right, so another way that we're going to use power of 3 just before we head out is that the daily power of 3 is really used for like the expansive moves. So when we start trending, if we ever do again, that's really when I use power of 3 more. So I'm trying to buy below the daily open, which is what we did. And then you could actually hold for those large runs because this daily candlestick will target higher time frames. Right, so for right now, because we have been in a smaller range, I'm a lot more quick to take out partials. But as the summer ends and we start trending eventually again, this is kind of when power of 3 will become a very powerful tool, right? Because we'll be able to buy below the opening like this, and then we would actually hold for like previous day's high, and you just hold for daily levels. And that gives you nice runs while still maintaining precision. But we'll kind of talk about that as we get there. Even here though, right, that makes sense. Like taking a long, if you expect that the day is going to be green and we're below the open, those are a lot higher probability. Because even if we just want to retest, and that's what this partial was, right? Retesting the daily open. So things like that, those are very easy trades without even needing to catch large runs. Yeah, that is all, everybody. So final goodbye now. Appreciate y'all chilling around this morning. Real quick, tomorrow we have NFP on Thursday because obviously Friday's a holiday, right, with the 4th of July. So that may be a little different because I don't really like, let's see, NFP is going to be early. That's whatever. We'll come back tomorrow just at our normal time, 9:25 Eastern. So NFP will be at 8:30. Price should gyrate enough and kind of create new price action by the 9:30 open that we should have an opportunity. So we'll plan for that. We'll be back tomorrow, 9:25 Eastern. Until then, have a great day, everybody, and we'll talk tomorrow morning. See you guys around.